Houston Texans, Houston Rockets, Houston Dynamo, Houston everything, Houston born and raised, H-Town Rebel Space Cadet Sports.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, folks of all stripes, and distinguished guests, put your hands together for the Space Cadet Sports Podcast. Houston, we have Paul Salazar Jr.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Space Cadet Sports Podcast, your Houston sports podcast for diehard Houston sports fans. From a diehard Houston sports fan, I'm Paul Salazar Jr., your favorite diehard Astros fan podcaster. Feel free to add as many additional qualifiers to that statement to make it true. I am entertainment professional, creative multi-hyphenate, but most importantly, I'm a proud Houston native, and I have the receipts to prove it. That's right, I've once eaten my weight in Shipley's Donuts, and that's before they were sold to private equity. I've spent the last decade or so as a comedy writer here in Los Angeles, and now, I'm podcasting. We all have podcasts out here in LA. That's the law. You either have to be in a podcast or in a throuple. I'd like to say good day, mates, and bienvenidos to new listeners. This is a comedy/Houston sports show. We try not to be too emotional, too hot-takey, or too ridiculous sports guy here. We try to remember we've elected to be sports fans and enjoy this life as best as we can in this wild world. Shout out to Cat Stevens. But it's going to be a tough one today. That's right. On today's episode, Lance McCullers Jr., Mr. Bury Me in the H, has been traded. That's right. The team has decided to move on from him, and Lance McCullers Jr. waived the no-trade clause. He is traded to Milwaukee. We haven't had a podcast in a while if you haven't been listening. Even if you have been listening, I don't know what you've been listening to because there hasn't been anything to listen to here. So we're back. We're happy to get back on a regular schedule. I know I've said this for a bit now, but I mean, look, I have a new daughter. Okay, give me a break. I'm acclimating, but we're happy to get back on a routine here. We're going to check in with the Astros at the All-Star break. And maybe mention a little bit of Summer League, maybe a little bit of World Cup. We are excited to get back. I'd like to welcome returning listeners and welcome new listeners to what my brothers call the Paul Broadbot Paul. It's been a while, oh my goodness. The Paul Broad Pod Ball Blog. I try to talk quick enough so you don't have to put me on double speed, but probably should have done my vocal warm-ups there. Shout out to my brothers, they're both Milford men. Shout out to Arrested Development fans, and shout out to the subscribers on the Substacks. I love my subs. Check out spacecadetsports.substack.com for the full blog experience, or the full blog experience, depending on your interpretation of my mumbles. And as always, we're recording this transmission here in sunny Los Angeles, where I'm joined by my co-host and co-producer, the Ross to my Fraser. Carla, the dog, is here with me. Longtime listeners of the pod know that she may get on mic from time to time. She's got the hot takes on this podcast, and of course, she's not the only one who speaks up. We have new producer, Baby Katerina, who is also allowed to chime in whenever she wants. We listen to women here on this podcast. That's our motto this season, but let's get to it. Vamos. Folks, Lance McCullers Jr. is officially a Milwaukee Brewer. And this is surprising news because, one, going into this season, even Lance McCullers Jr. himself said he wasn't sure what to expect this year. He was hoping to compete. He was hoping to compete for this team and to give the Astros something they needed this season. And obviously that's not a direct quote. Don't quote me on that. Calmate. Don't quote me. But essentially he was just saying he wasn't too sure as to his productivity and was just hoping to produce and compete for the team. That kind of was his goal this season. And it's tough. Because when it comes to sports and emotions, sometimes they go hand in hand. Sometimes they pull you in opposite directions. Lance McCullers Jr. was an incredible pitcher for the Houston Astros. He was an incredible ambassador for the city of Houston and the Houston Astros. This man and his family have a foundation that have also served the Houston area and its dogs, rescue dogs, and making sure that these rescue dogs have a safe place, that they're not euthanized too early. This is a man after my own heart. Carla and I are deeply appreciative of both of his on the field and off the field contributions while he's been in Houston. It's sad that the way this has to end, in the sense that we just have so much pitching as a team right now, and not that the whole pitching staff are world beaters or anything right now, but we have plenty of options. The man is expensive because of his contract, and sadly, I hate being so blunt, but he is expendable when it comes to the talent on the roster. Not necessarily in our hearts, definitely, but when it comes to the options that the Astros have and the price that they have, he was one of the more expendable pitchers. Now, what I will say here, and I think this, we need to give Lance McCullers Jr. a lot of credit for bouncing back continuously after injury. Injury after injury, just coming back, battling back. It hasn't always been pretty, but the man has always tried to adjust. He's always tried to represent with pride. When he's had Houston on his jersey, he has spoken highly of Houston. He loved this guy for what he's done for this team, battling back and actually getting to a point where he is a tradable asset. I think, with his salary and with the way he's been having to battle back from injuries, I think a lot of fans would be shocked to know that there is market value for somebody like Lance McCullers Jr. And once again, this is not me trying to be disrespectful. I love Lance McCullers Jr., have all the respect in the world for him. But as a player and for his price, it seemed like Lance McCullers Jr. was probably going to finish the season in Houston because there wouldn't be any buyers. So you really have to credit Lance for bouncing back, coming back, being an interesting target for a team like the Milwaukee Brewers. Lance McCullers Jr. was traded with Colton Gordon, a left-handed pitcher that had a lot of time with the Astros last season, but hasn't exactly been needed this season, even though it would have been nice to have a left-handed arm. He wasn't exactly pitching to the caliber that this team needed this season. So he's moving to Milwaukee, or he's on the move as a player to Milwaukee. I don't know the man's life. I don't know where he lives. I'm not trying to talk out of my butt here. I don't know. It was a slip of the tongue. Okay, forgive me. Look, folks, Colton Gordon and Lance McCullers Jr. are going to the Milwaukee Brewers, and coming back our way are cash considerations. That's right, cash considerations, a trade target a lot of times for the Houston Astros, and an infielder, designated hitter, and outfielder, Jayden Fielder. That's right, another son of a former player. Prince Fielder's son will be headed to the Houston Astros minor league system, I'm sure. Very interesting that the Astros would part ways with Lance McCullers. Very interesting that the Brewers are parting ways with Jayden Fielder for two completely separate reasons, but still a very interesting trade, definitely showcasing that we never know what is going to happen in this sport or in all sports. I mean, look, I don't have this podcast to sit here and pretend that I know more than anybody. I just have this podcast because I frankly pay a lot of attention to the Houston sports scene. I read everything, I watch everything, and it's just me, kind of like a Reader's Digest, kind of breaking it down for you, telling you what has been happening, what I think of it. But I'm never going to sit here and say that I completely know everything. Part of my projections and fun is seeing how I get it wrong. And this is a trade that at the beginning of the season, if you would have told me we were trading away a starting pitcher in our rotation, I probably would have thought it would be somebody like Mike Burrows. Maybe, but I would never have guessed it would be Lance McCullers Jr. So with that being said, we're very shocked that Lance McCullers Jr. had a trade. He was able to be traded here, not just because of the no trade clause, not just because of how much he is a beloved icon in Houston, but because we didn't know what type of production Lance McCullers Jr. would have this season. It's sad to see him go, but maybe there is a little bit of a chance that maybe this is a good thing for Lance McCullers Jr.'s career. Maybe he can bounce back. Maybe he can figure out a way to come back and compete, and maybe even get another contract. I don't know if, what his future plans are, but I do hope and pray. That's right. I've turned to praying. It's that time of the season. Prayers are at an all-time high when your team is under 500, but I do hope and pray that Lance McCullers Jr. Does come back as an Astro, sign like a one-day contract or some formality like that, and retire a Houston Astro, because he is Mr. Bury Me in the H. We all love him. And on a personal note, something of Lance McCullers Jr., a story. Look, we all love him. We don't need extra stories to love him more. But when the Astros won in 2017, I was living in Los Angeles. I still do. Obviously, I was living in Los Angeles, and my good friend Bernado, he invited me out to a hotel, and this was a hotel that the Astros were staying in. So, of course, I went to party with all my Houston friends. It was a great time. It was still a safe time to party as a Houston Astro in L.A., or a Houston Astros fan, I should say, in L.A. So we were out there having a good time, and I saw Lance McCullers Jr. enter the hotel carrying the World Series trophy. And the guy was incredible. There's all kinds of stories of how incredible he was with fans, but as he was walking by me, I reached my hand out there to touch some of that greatness, to touch the trophy, and he leaned in, let me get a good handle on that trophy for a little bit. Was a very pleasant guy, smiled at me. I don't even remember what we said to each other. It was a brief little exchange, meant the world to me. I was on an all-time high. I mean, one of the best moments of my life, up there, getting married, having a daughter, seeing Lance McCullers Jr. So, shout out to Lance McCullers Jr. I hope things go great for you. You will forever be a legend in the Houston sports world, and nobody let him buy a drink in Houston for the rest of his life. We love you, Lance McCullers Jr. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back on the other side of the break to talk about the Houston Astros at the All-Star break, kind of see where my predictions might have been right or wrong, and kind of play a game of good news, bad news. We'll be right back after this. And we're back. Welcome back to the Space Cadet Sports Podcast. I'm your irreverent host, Paul Salazar Jr. Let's talk your Houston Astros. The good news is I'm back from break. The bad news is I guess I'm back. It's been a tough season. It's been a roller coaster season for Astros fans and for the Houston Astros. So let's kind of check in with them as as we're at the All-Star break here. Your Houston Astros, they're going to come back to play the Baltimore Orioles with a record of 47-51, which is good for third in the American League West. They are 3 games behind the Arlington Rangers. So, not ideal. And when we're looking at the wild card, they're 1.5 games out of that last wild card spot. There's a tie between the Mariners and the Twins right now. And the Boston Red Sox are slightly above us, just a half game out of that last wild card spot. So while people are panicking, while people are saying this team is done for, while they're nailing the nails into the coffin, we're not completely out of it. And there is a trade deadline approaching, which, obviously looks like the Astros are going to be active in trades. About the Lance McCullers Jr. trade, I definitely, my initial reaction was like, I hate this. Why do we have to trade him? What's the point? What are we even going to get back for him? When the rumors started circulating, or when I saw them start to circulate this morning, I was like, what's the point of this? What could we even get back that's going to be worth it? But you got to think about flexibility. So if they're trying to get some financial flexibility, that maybe means that they're going to get something. There is a target at the trade deadline, minimally. So, the good news is that the Astros get a much-needed break, and they're getting healthier. But the bad news is they're still under 500, and they still seem to be fragile. I can't believe how bad injuries have been yet again this season for the Houston Astros. They're bad everywhere sometimes in baseball, but it just seems like a completely unlucky season yet again, because on paper, this team is great. On paper, at the beginning of the season, we were talking about how they had too many infielders, and most of the season, it seems like they haven't had enough. There's been Brandon Shoemakes and Reynel Delgados and a lot of Nick Allen, Little Nicky, playing start a lot of time for the infield in the Houston Astros. So you never know. You never know what's going to happen. It seemed like that whole thing, that whole offseason storyline of needing to trade an infielder, thank God they didn't do it, because, this team was too fragile to carry have five great infielders. They needed all of them. Correa is obviously still on the IL. Pena just came back in the Rangers series. It has been a tough season for your Houston Astros and injuries. I predicted 88 wins, but I guess I'm just throwing it out there. What were you expecting? That's still, I think, in the cards for the Houston Astros, 88 wins. I said 88 wins, maybe not necessarily winning the AL West, but winning a wild card spot. But the way the AL West has gone, 88 wins might be good enough for the top of the AL West. We'll see. Who knows what's going to happen at the end of the season. But let me know what you thought. Let me know what your expectations for this team is. Because my prediction was they're getting back into the postseason. They're going to be a wild card team. Let me know what you think. I still think that is a possibility, depending on who they get at the trade deadline. They're definitely buyers, not sellers. And one of the main reasons that is still in the cards for the Houston Astros is because of Yordan Alvarez. I don't know if you've been watching, but if you haven't, at least watch the Alvarez clips. At least watch his highlights. The guy is an all-star, a potential Triple Crown winner, and a potential MVP winner. If we keep him healthy, obviously. And he's had a great, healthy start to the season. Knock on all the wood you see. I would just be knocking on Pinocchio if he was right here. Because when this guy is healthy, he's amazing. And this season, he seems to be completely locked in. He had a little bit of a cold streak recently and is bouncing back. So it's a good thing that he's getting a break now. But he's him. Yordan Alvarez, I think, really could win the Triple Crown and MVP this season. It would just be a huge bummer to waste that season with a non-competitive team. And right now they are a competitive team, but they can be hard to watch because just like the Astros of the last couple seasons, they have just been too inconsistent, not just with injuries, not just with having a consistent lineup set, but just with runners in scoring position, walking too many batters. It's been a struggle to watch this team at times because they're good to great. They are a very competitive team. Since late May, I believe, they have the most saves in the league. Their bullpen is improved. Their starting pitching has started it started getting really better, and then it started pivoting, kind of trending down, I should say. And I think we have the talent. I think it just has been some bad luck. The hitting's been inconsistent. It has been a tough watch at times for this team. I think that in a way, the biggest thing a lot of people have been critical of, I'm trying to say, the biggest thing most people have been critical of is GM Dana Brown and manager Joe Espada. But for me and my household, we completely blame owner Jim Crane. I feel like there has been some cheaping out at times. Obviously, the Astros have a big payroll. I'm not, if you go back and listen to the episodes, I say you don't spend just to spend. You don't try to keep up with the Joneses of the New York Mets, the LA Dodgers, and the New York Yankees. It's not exactly sustainable. I think we can't sustain too many bad spurts because it just, people will stop coming to the games. So I think you do have to be smart, but also the guy has made frustrating moves at times, like trading Mauricio Dubon for Nick Allen. No disrespect to Nick Allen. Or just constantly letting people walk. I know that they're expensive, but my goodness, at some point you need to be able to spend some money. So at this trade deadline, it looks like if they're getting financially flexible, maybe they're going to spend. I hope so, because this team needs something. I mean, whether it's an outfielder, whether it's another pitcher, whatever it may be, this team needs something to compete. They're so close to actually winning the AL West. I want to see Jim Crane do something. And I think, Dana Brown is the GM, but he's operating under the rules and guidelines of the owner. And I think his guidelines have been, we're not going to spend this a lot of money. We're going to play it kind of cheap at times. And it's frustrating to see. I know we're not the Dodgers. I know we're not the Mets, but we're not a mid-market team either. I want to see something here. This trade deadline. This trade deadline's super important. I think it's important for the narrative of the Houston Astros. This might be the most pivotal season for the Houston Astros narrative. I say narrative because I don't think the window is necessarily closed. I'm not trying to be overdramatic. Okay, calmate. I hit you with that calmate, okay? I don't think the window's closed or closing, but the narratives that form very quickly online, the narratives that form in the media can easily change if the Astros miss the playoffs again. So this is an important season for the narrative, for that momentum. It doesn't mean the team should be buried forever if something tragic happens. But my goodness, Jim Crane, I'm watching you closely because you said the window's never closed, so show it. I want to see something here. I don't know exactly who it is. I don't know who the target may be. It could be like previous seasons. It could be Yusei Kikuchi. It could be a mid pitcher. I jokingly say a mid-tier pitcher, that the Astros can kind of help out and bring the best out of. But it really easily could be a hitter this season. This could be the time where we have plenty of pitching options. Maybe we trade for just an arm that we could use to shore up the bullpen or the rotation, but we're going for a hitter to inject some life into this offense. Maybe somebody like oh my goodness, I'm I'm blanking. Boom Boom, first baseman. Goodness. This is what happens when you become a father, folks. I used to be great at this. I used to be able to just come on here and note notes. Now my brain is leaking out of the side. Trey Mancini, that's his name. Goodness gracious. Look, at least I did it without looking things up online. Okay, maybe it could be something like that. But I really hope whatever's happening, it's a smattering of players or a big target. I'm watching you, Jim Crane. I'm watching you. With that being said, we're going to take one more quick break. We'll come back with some good news, bad news. We'll talk about Copa Mundial and more.
H-Town Rebel Space Cadet Sports.
Welcome back, Cotter. This is the Space Cadet Sports Podcast. It's your boy. Let's talk Copa Mundial. A little bit, folks. World Cup, I really wish that I could have been available to talk more about the World Cup this summer. Look, I keep saying it. The last couple of podcasts since that I've released, there's no secret, since February, these podcasts have not been coming out regularly. I had a baby girl about 5 months ago now. She just turned 5 months. She is my world. My girls are my world. Carla, Katerina, my wife Sarah. These I don't even hide it. They're my world. And I've just been really busy acclimating to a new life. It's been a huge change for me. I've been wanting to podcast more. It's just been hard. So I'm looking at doing about one podcast a week going forward. That's going to be the goal. We'll see how I do. I'd like to write more. We'll see how I can carve time out for that. But it's a challenge. And you know what? I'm proud to say it. I'm the primary caregiver to my child right now. I'm staying home with her. I'm working from home now, which has also been a change. So there's been a lot of change in my world. And sadly, podcasting hasn't been the biggest priority. So I apologize to the subscribers. I apologize to the people that support. Things will be more consistent going forward. But, all this, I think I might start a new parenting podcast, or this is going on the comedy podcast, but you'll learn more about that more if you want to know more about my personal life. But this isn't a Paul Personal Life podcast. So let's get to it. Let's talk a little bit more World Cup. Argentina just beat England at the very end of the game. Spain beat France. Sadly, Mexico has been out of it for a while now. That just was heartbreaking for me and Carla. Carla is from Mexico, so we are both proud to be Mexican descent. So even though we live in America, look, I've rooted for America in previous World Cups. I rooted for some teams that I didn't feel too great about. There's some guys on those teams I didn't really like. So just this time around, this World Cup, I'm like, look, who am I kidding? I'm going all in for Mexico. I'll definitely watch the USA games and cheer them on, but Mexico is my primary team, and it was a great ride. I loved watching World Cup this season, this year. I love it so much, and even if you're not a football fan, if you're a soccer fan, or if you're American and just kind of casually watching, check out the World Cup. These jokes about football are just silly and archaic at this point. Just seeing the world come together over sport is something nice, because we see a lot of divisiveness in sport in America, but seeing like people come together and love each other, it really has been nice. It was inspiring in this day and age, in this time of uncertainty, when we're just but there is all kinds of things too, like it's FIFA giving out peace prizes, just trying to, as the teams whittle down, trying to choose between two countries that you're not really too sure of what you like from there, or at least some of the behaviors that you've seen. It's interesting. I just think if you're just a baseball fan, if you're just a Astros fan or a Rockets fan, try watching the World Cup. Try getting outside of your comfort zone every now and then, because every World Cup that has happened since maybe, I want to say 2002, but every time that there's a World Cup around, I get more into it, and I never regret it. It's always been fun. So I can't wait to see the final game of the World Cup. It's going to be Argentina-Spain. Let me know who you got. And if you're looking for more World Cup coverage, check out my friend Bernado Cabria's Substack. I'll link to it in podcast notes, because the Substack, something like Bernardo, and then a string of numbers. So the marketing might be difficult for me to remember, but we'll put a link in there. His articles on the World Cup have been great. He's a writer that I know. He's written for Apple TV's Acapulco. So definitely check him out. Shout out to Bernardo. Shout out to his family. Let's play a little good news, bad news before we wrap up this podcast. I'm not going to lie to you. I had some notes. I wrote some things down for good news, bad news, and I don't have them on me right now. So this is going to be a bit of a truncated segment, especially because my baby's napping, and I don't want to wake her up. So let's talk a little good news, bad news. Let's start off the top. Let's go with Altuve. The good news for Altuve is that he is still the spark plug for this team. The bad news is he's had an off season. I think a lot of people have been sounding the alarm on Altuve since last season. I don't think it's quite like that. I mean, seeing Altuve at the beginning of this season with new hitting coaches really made me feel good about what Altuve can turn himself into for the last era of his career. He's been walking more. He was being more judicious about his pitches. And then I think the Astros have they've been underperforming. And I think Altuve is taking that really personally. During a Cleveland Guardians series, you saw him very frustrated at Dyken Park throwing his helmet, getting frustrated at his results when he's going through a cold streak. I think he's putting a lot of pressure on himself, and that's making him swing more. If the hitting coaches can get to Altuve and get him to be more patient, and he has it in him. He has a great eye. I think we'll get better results from Altuve. I think right now, with an injured lineup, with him feeling a lot of pressure to lead this team, I think it's been some tough games for Altuve. But potentially with Pena back from injury, with maybe a trade where we have a little bit more firepower in this lineup, I think Altuve can finish the season strong, and I think he could bounce back and even have another all-star season in his future. It just has been a tough one. Speaking of Jeremy Pena, the good news is Pena is back from injury. This guy has played great all season. He really looks great at the top of the lineup, so Altuve can focus on being more patient later in the game, or later in the lineup, I should say, and not just swinging out of his shoes to start the game, getting Altuve into better habits. So it's good to have Pena back. The bad news is there's trade rumors about him. Now, here's what I say. I hear these Pena to New York. I don't think Pena is going to be a Yankee. I just don't see it. I don't see this team trading Pena this season. I could see potentially a Pena trade at some point. I'm not going to be insane. I think it would just depend on how the Astros are trending and what they need. I just don't see it happening. I don't see it happening to the Yankees. I think it is just the Yankees media getting really excited and wanting to bury the Astros and getting to dunk on the Astros having a poor season by saying we're going to take Pena, because that's what they do. The Yankees are takers, okay? But I even though I see those rumors, I would be shocked if he is moved. Let me know what you think about that. Let's talk about Paredes and Walker. They have, the good news for them is that they have been the lifeblood at times of this offense. Obviously, Yordan Alvarez is him when he's the guy, but they've been protecting Alvarez. They've been hitting people in, getting RBIs. And I think without those two guys, this season would be completely different. I think we're kind of hand-wringing this offseason about who's going to go. Who are we trading? Is it Paredes or Walker? I'm glad we kept them both. Obviously, we needed them. The bad news is they can be inconsistent at times. There's been some inconsistent stretches. There's been some times with runners in scoring position where we just needed one or two more runs to win the game. And, a lot of times they're in the position to do something about that because of their place in the lineup. And they have had some moments. But I think they'll get better. I think with getting another bat, maybe that helps protect them. Because this lineup has not been very deep this season. Speaking of, Cam Smith, the bad news is he's had a tough season. The good news is he really still looks like he's going to be an incredible outfielder, and he's going to be a great hitter. It's just, we pulled the guy up so early where he's going to have some growing pains. He's having some right now. Just look at Jeremy Pena's second season. It happens. Sophomore slumps and all that. The catching. Let's look at Yainer Diaz and Christian Vasquez. The good news is they've been good. The bad news is, honestly, they haven't been great at times. There's no secret that you can run on the Houston Astros. The pitchers don't seem to really keep men honest. And, the catching has done well, but this is a team you can run on. I I think they're going to look at the catching position going forward in the next offseason, but we'll see. And then, the good news is we have lots of outfield options. The bad news is none of them are really rising to the top. Jake Myers, Taylor Trammell, Lamont Wade Jr., Zach DeCenzo, Joey Loperfido. There's lots of Zach Cole, Shea Whitcomb. We just need some people to rise to the top here to help us out. And folks, I'm going to be honest with you. The baby's waking up, and I didn't get to the pitchers. So we'll get to the good news, bad news with some pitchers. We'll actually flesh out an actual segment on the next podcast episode next week. We're also going to talk about the MLB draft next week. We're going to get to a little bit of who the Astros drafted. We want to talk about some Rockets Summer League. We're ramping up some more OTAs for the Houston Texans. Football season is upon us. We're looking at the Connecticut Sun, who have not done great, but hey, that's a good thing for the future Comets. And maybe even that now that we have football fever, we'll take a stop to Dynamo Corner. And with that being said, that's going to do it for this transmission, Space Cadets. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Please like, rate, review, subscribe, share, and all that jazz. We're a small podcast and only go as far as our listenership takes us. We're supported by listeners like you. So please share with the Houston fan or Australian in your life and give us a 5-star rating wherever you listen. Reach out on social media. We've stayed active on Instagram, primarily Instagram stories, stuff like that. Find us at Space Cadet Sports on Instagram. And you can follow us more regularly, even if we're not podcasting as regularly as we used to. You can call in at SpeakPipe, leave me a voicemail. It can maybe even make the podcast one day if it isn't too crazy, if it isn't too profane and isn't just, yelling at me. Leave a voicemail. Let me know your takes at speakpipe.com/Space Cadet Sports. And of course, check out the Substack at spacecadetsports.substack.com, where you subscribe for free. Get all of the podcasts, all of the articles that I potentially am writing, emailed to you for free. You could also become a premium subscriber, helping buy treats for Carla and diapers for Katerina. That would be really helpful. I keep that low so you could help me and it not break the bank. That really, the few subscribers that I do have on the premium, I really appreciate it and appreciate all the help. And if you've gotten this far, you must like me on some kind of level. You can find me making weird jokes on social media, weird jokes, memes, art, podcasts, and so much more at Paul Salazar JR on all social media platforms. And you can find my other Substack as well while you're out there. See my writing, see all of my nonsense, if you're nasty. Thanks for listening. Remember to be the best that you can be. Keep your head up, kid. And as always, vamos, vamos, Houston. And abolish ICE.